understanding other cultures and world religions, education in India, and a family with mission in their genes. All that and more coming up right here on Global Mission Snapshots.
Just before he went up to heaven, Jesus gave us a command. He gave us a mission. Jesus said, "Go. Go unto all the world, telling them of His love." This is our mission. This is our global mission.
Hello and welcome to Global Mission Snapshots. I'm Gary Krause. If you've ever traveled to another country, you know there are often major differences in language and culture. Those differences impact our ability to shop, eat, socialize, and most important, our ability to share the gospel. Today we'll be talking with Cheryl Doss, Director of the Institute of World Mission. Every year, Dr. Doss and her team train the Adventist Church's international mission workers how to be more effective when they're living and working in other cultures. We'll also talk with Dr. Rick McEdward, Director of the Global Mission Study Centers, about how to communicate with people whose understanding of religion is totally different to ours. Where do you even start if they don't believe in the Bible or in God? But first up, let's visit a family with a heart for mission who have passed on the spirit of service to their children.
As a physician, as you're trained, your primary goal in training is to take good medical care of people to make sure that their health is cared for in a proper way. But as time has gone by, I realized that that's really not the primary issue. That my primary goal is to lead people to Jesus and to know Him. And so I began to see medical practice as a tool to lead people to Jesus. And so I've tried to focus on somehow using my medical practice not only as a tool to help people to have a healthier life and to recover from disease, but even more importantly, to come to know the one who's going to provide eternal life for them. Greg, our oldest, has always wanted to be a physician. Has ended up being trained as a surgeon and served overseas in many different places, most recently in Cameroon.
I would say it was probably somewhere in high school that I decided that I really wanted to be a missionary and specifically a physician. I guess it was in medical school in Loma Linda where it was really solidified and I chose to be part of the Deferred Mission Appointee Program.
Now, I did 3.5 years of residency in family practice training, and haven't seen anything here that I ever saw in family practice training.
As a missionary, my goal is two-pronged. I mean, of course, I'm a physician, so I want to reach their physical needs, but more importantly, we need to reach their spiritual needs. And there are certain people at the hospital that we've been able to minister to. And we've seen people that have had tetanus, who have been sick in the hospital for many weeks, and then for a long recovery period after that. And with time and praying every single day with them, they have come to know Jesus and give their heart to God. And I think that's the most encouragement, is individual lives that have been changed.
Christy, our middle daughter, also wanted to be a physician since she was young, and served at Malamula Hospital in Malawi.
I love the chance to come to a place and care for people who no one else is really caring for. I find that intensely satisfying. And I think that's why I've always wanted to do this. If you stop working at home, your patients get upset and they go see someone else. Here, people die. And I think that's what I find truly gratifying about being here. I feel like it touches into what Jesus talked about when he saw the multitudes and he had compassion on them. I think that's really what it comes down to for me. We always think of blessings as being safe or happy or things like that, but I think you can be blessed by loneliness and by being homesick. I think God chooses to bless you in a different way, and by being here, I'm getting to be molded by God, and you don't often get to see that very clearly in your life.
Heather, our youngest, has taken a different track. She really was not interested in medicine, which was fine with us. She trained as a teacher and taught elementary school for many years, and now is married to a pastor. And she and her husband are pastoring 4 churches in Kansas. And I guess I see that she's just as much a missionary as our other children, because she's there helping people, spreading the gospel, just in a different form.
I mean, that is God's mission, to go over and help people wherever we are, whether we're here in the U.S. or whether we're out of the U.S. Go and help people and teach them about the Lord, as well as helping their physical well-beings.
Mon Dieu, ce soir, je demande que vous êtes avec notre sœur Thérèse et la famille qui est ici.
There are certain people that I've felt I've made a real difference in their life, both in a physical aspect and in being able to have the chance of witnessing to them.
Since I've been here, probably the verse that's come to mean the most to me is 1 John 3:18. And that says, "My dear brothers, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth." And that's really what I've been talking to my employees here about. Let's love in truth, each other, our patients. Let's really show what God is like here.
Donna and I have learned to pray for our kids a lot. You say, Lord, we can't take care of those kids. We can't provide for them. You're going to have to take care of them while they're overdoing your work.
You go to the point where you realize, Lord, they're yours, they're not ours. They never will be ours. They've always been yours. And you let them go. That doesn't mean you don't miss them. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. That doesn't mean you don't miss family times with them, special occasions like Thanksgiving or Christmas or, Easter or things like that are family traditions. But you realize that they're doing something far more valuable that's eternal.
I'm delighted to welcome my friend and colleague, Dr. Cheryl Doss, who is the Director of the Institute of World Mission for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Cheryl, thanks so much for joining us. Institute of World Mission, briefly, what is it? What does it do?
Its main responsibility is for the training of the missionaries that the General Conference sends.
We still send missionaries?
Oh, yes. I know that the question that's very painful to me. Some people don't realize it, but yes, we do. At least 100 families go out a year, often more than that, and there's probably between 750 and 1,000 at any one missionaries at any one time in the field.
Now, why do they need training? Don't they just go out in faith?
Yeah, hopefully they do go out with faith.
Yes.
But as you can imagine, moving a family overseas is a major adjustment time, major transition for families. Most of them go as married couples with children, aged from tiny babies to teenagers, and sometimes several children, and this is always quite an issue just for moving a family within a home country, let alone taking them to a foreign country, foreign foods, a new language, a new living environment and work and all the rest.
And it gets even more complex when you think about how different each family is.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about the General Conference mission service, is that it truly does send missionaries from everywhere to everywhere. The last Mission Institute we held in Brazil just last month had 14 families from 12 different home countries. 6 different continents were represented at that Mission Institute.
Right.
Different languages, they come with different skills. Of course, they go out to do different types of jobs. But most are highly qualified professionals going to do a specialist type work where they go. Doctors, dentists, church administrators, teachers and professors, and so ADRA workers and so on.
Can you introduce us to some of the missionary families?
Yes, I can. You know, there's so many, I hate to pick any one out, so I'll just kind of take a smattering from the last Mission Institute. We had a family there, the Lichtenwalter family, who had spent 27 years pastoring a church in Berrien Springs, Michigan. And now Larry's going out to be the theology dean there at the school as they try to develop their theology program at Middle East University. So going to a Muslim context, moving with his wife and leaving their children at home, this is a major transition for a family.
Where is the university?
In Beirut, Lebanon. Another family at the other end of the family spectrum came with a very small baby, just 4 months old. And they are serving in Colombia, and they have another little boy, Vanston Archbold, and his wife, Ketsia, and they have been there for a short time. Actually, they came originally from Colombia, but immigrated to the U.S. And so having spent many years in the U.S. now, as young people growing up there, they're going back to this country, to a rather mission post on an island off the coast. And so this is another kind of adjustment. Oftentimes missionaries find that returning to a home country can be more difficult than the initial going out into a host country.
That's interesting.
We had families from Australia that are serving in the islands, families from Africa serving in other parts of Africa. And so it's a wonderful mix of people that we put together at a Mission Institute.
Yeah. Now, Cheryl, you're training for how long? How long is that training?
It's a 3-week training program, and one of the things we do is we hope to kind of model in the Institute both the attitudes and the experiences that people will face when they get out into the field. Because it's not enough just to think about something logically. One must be able to actually practice what one learns. And so we asked the group to mix themselves up by different nationality, by different types of profession, by work assignments and family age groups and experience overseas. And then we set learning tasks. They sit at tables and we set learning tasks for them to discuss together. And I think one of the most beautiful things for me is to watch these families from so many different places come to really love and appreciate each other. It's a little piece of heaven. At the last Institute, I had at one table there was a family from Norway going to Israel, a family from Albania and Australia going to Fiji, and a family from Zimbabwe serving in Tanzania. And towards the end of the Institute, one of the women at that table was with one of the other women, the African and one of the European women, and they were walking along, and the European woman said to me, "I would never have believed it if you told me that we would be best friends
Is that
at
right?
the end of 3 weeks." You know, so they can pray for each other, they can support each other. And I always say, if you can learn to love somebody from another culture while at Mission Institute, then probably you know at least it's possible to do that when you get out there.
Yeah. Now, do you ever have somebody come to training and you decide, well, we actually don't think that you're well suited for this assignment?
That's not really our responsibility. Okay. But what we do at Mission Institute is try to empower people for whatever assignment God has called them to. We have a psychologist who comes to every Mission Institute and interviews each family. If there are needs, particular family needs that they want to talk about with her, they can do that. They can raise the issues. And we have seen families greatly blessed, marriages improved, and so on during Mission Institute. One of the journals I read this last Institute, at the end, the woman said, this institute has brought me closer to God than I ever thought possible.
Fantastic. Cheryl, thank you for what you and your team are doing with the Institute of World Mission. Thanks for joining us today.
And thank you to the missionaries who are willing to go.
Exactly. And viewers at home, please pray for Cheryl and her team in this very important work, and thank you for your continuing mission offerings that make it possible for missionaries to go out into the field. And don't forget to pray every day for missionaries serving the Lord. My guest is Dr. Rick McEdward, who is the Director of the Global Mission Study Centers and works in the Office of Adventist Mission. Welcome, Rick.
Thanks, Gary.
Briefly describe the Global Mission Study Centers.
Well, there's 6 study centers. These 6 study centers address understanding for Adventists the various world religions and also urban settings. So there's different world religions that we really haven't done much in addressing our faith to. So it's trying to help people understand and be a positive witness.
Now, Rick, when we look at the history of the Adventist Church, most new members have come from among animists or from other Christian believers. How well equipped are we? I mean, how well trained are we to be able to talk to people from other religions?
Well, even in countries that are majority from another faith, honestly, we still focus our efforts on Christians, Christian groups, and we really haven't done much in sharing our faith in a positive way with these other groups. What a challenge it is, because we tend to use a message that is really geared for sharing with other Christians.
Right. Now, somebody might be viewing this and saying, well, this is all very interesting, but I never planned to travel overseas, so it's not an issue for me.
Well, you know, the great part about it is you don't have to go overseas to find somebody from another religion. There are 37 million immigrants even in the country of the United States.
Wow.
There are 14 million non-English speaking households in North America. There are 750,000 students from other parts of the world who may speak English but come from other religious backgrounds. And so we don't have to look very far to see that there's people from other walks of life, even in our next door neighbor. And that's true of the United States, it's certainly true of Canada, parts of Europe, anywhere where people flock to for both economy and education. There's going to be opportunities that we haven't taken.
And some of the statistics show that people from other world religions feel that Christians are in a different world to them here in the United States. They don't have any contact, they don't have any friends with any Christians.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that in places like Europe, the United States, that around 70% of those from a Hindu background have no Christian friends. 65% of those from a Muslim background don't know one other Christian person. So, I mean, we're talking about a stat that is shaming to us.
Yeah. So we might meet them in a store, they may be cleaners at a laundry, they may be driving a taxi, they may be our dentist, but we don't make friends with them.
That's right. And I think that shows us that we may be reluctant based on maybe stereotypes, it may be other reasons, but we don't know how to build those first few bridges.
Okay, so one of our viewers says, okay, I see the importance of this. I have a neighbor from a different religion. I don't know where to start.
Well, the easy place is where my family started. We have a neighborhood that has a wide variety of people in it. We're in an urban setting, and we have a neighbor from Kuwait, we have neighbors from Thailand, we have neighbor from Africa. So we have a wide variety, and you know what my wife and kids did is they just said, well, let's bake some bread, Mom. And they went holiday time or any time, and they delivered loaves of bread to various people in the community.
And you were telling me just earlier about how you made contact with your neighbors from another country.
Well, we'd just gotten back from a trip to Thailand. I traveled there for my work, and on this particular trip, I took my family along. While we were there, we thought of our neighbors. We picked up a few things that would be special. We asked in Thailand, what would be special? And when we got back, we went and paid them a visit. And as we gave them just a few little bag of things, as they unpacked it, I saw tears well up in the lady's eyes, saying, I haven't seen these things for 20 years. These are special to me. And we formed a special bond of friendship through that.
So Rick, what are some of the principles that we should keep in mind when we are talking with people who come from a different faith tradition?
Well, you know, first of all, love covers a multitude of sins, right? Yeah. So I think we ought to practice the gift of love and hospitality. You know, inviting somebody to our house, loving them in some way, that's the obvious one. The second is maybe we don't understand, but maybe we can listen and learn. If we try to tell before we accept, before we even understand who people are, then we make the first mistake, and that is we're not willing to allow somebody to share their heart. I think there's a third one, and that is pray, and pray not only for them, but pray for the right opportunity for you to share a verbal witness. Now, a verbal witness is complicated. It's not so simple with just everybody, but you want to have the right timing, and you don't want to be preaching at people. You want to share with them.
So you're talking about a testimony, a personal testimony?
Actually, I think a testimony of what God is doing in you lately is one of the most powerful stories you can tell. I like to use that because people often are looking for an answer for something in their lives. And if you say, well, God did this for me, they might say, well, tell me about your God. Now, not everybody will say that, but there's a chance to build that friendship that way.
And you can't argue with somebody's experience. If you talk at the level of concepts, that's one thing, but when you share your experience, that's true for you, yeah?
It's absolutely true. And you know, what I find is that a lot of people will say they're open to praying after you share your experience because they have needs in their lives too.
Exactly. Yeah. Rick, thanks so much for sharing with us today. And viewers at home, God may be calling you to take that step of contact with some of your neighbors, people that you meet every day. It might be in your street, it may be at school, it may be work, whatever it is. Take time to pray and say, Lord, how can I be your instrument in this situation? How can I stop from just keeping to myself and build a bridge of love to these people? Pray, please, for the Global Mission Study Centers. They have a tremendously challenging task to find ways, methods, models for us to be more effective in our mission in sharing with our brothers and sisters around the world.
Each day after classes, students at Lasselgau Seventh-day Adventist School carry out assigned duties around the campus. This work program can be found at Seventh-day Adventist schools across India.
Ever since we started the school system, we introduced the work program. And there are students who would refuse to do certain types of manual work. Agriculture, yes, fine. I wouldn't mind being involved in growing plants, growing vegetables. That's a very dignified work. But sweep the hostel, clean the toilet, do some other kind of work. No, that's not mine. That's menial. That's not for my status in the community. So this has been the division, you know. But Adventist system has somehow broken this in our schools. Work, any work, is God's gift to us. God has given us gift of work. Take care of the earth. Be stewards of the earth. So that philosophy, that whatever you do, you are a steward of something. Whenever a student goes through that manual labor, he becomes more mature, more responsible, and ready to take on the world when he leaves the school.
This focus on strong work ethic has made Lasselgau School an attractive place for parents to send their children.
The shortcoming of this school is we have insufficient classrooms. We have very big playground, but we don't have science labs. We don't have physics, chemistry and biology separate labs, which is an essential part of a growing school.
In the early years of schooling, a parent likes to look at value education. Will my boy, will my girl turn out to be the very finest in character? And when it comes to character, Adventist education are the best. But then when they come to a higher level of learning, late in high school, people are looking for excellence in academic learning.
Lasselgau currently has classroom facilities for grades 1 through 10. The school needs to build more classrooms to be able to accommodate grades 11 and 12.
If the school opens 11th and 12th, we would like to study here only, because outside we don't get chance to go for church and other activities as we do here.
Because of your financial support of the World Budget and mission offerings, a new classroom block, including new physics, chemistry and biology labs, will be constructed on the Lasselgau School campus. Your offerings are building more than classrooms. They are building a future for these children and for mission in India. Thank you for your support of the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. To find out more, please visit adventistmission.org.
Every 3 months, Adventist Mission produces an inspiring collection of video mission stories and reports for the Adventist Mission DVD. If you live in North America and would like to receive a free sample copy of the Adventist Mission DVD, then call or visit our website and ask for a sample AM DVD or ask for offer number 303. Please remember to clearly state your name, your full address, and be sure to mention the Adventist Mission DVD or offer 303. For the Office of Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope you can join me next time right here on Global Mission Snapshots.